focusing too much on putting a show on for the camera, it's very difficult to open myself up. You can't really reflect or grow if you never made any mistakes or never faced any challenges. These are these magical moments that can help us change our reality, shift our perspective, and really get closer to who we want to be. Yesterday, I scheduled in a recording day, so I really wanted to record a video about self-love and self-doubt, and I had some ideas and I took notes and I imagined a setup and prepared some lights in the background, some cute things, whatever. But then when I got ready and when I got to filming, I just got, my mind got bricked and I got too nervous and stressed from talking to in front of the camera. And I just didn't do it because it didn't work. I tried to finish that recording. I then gave up in that time of the day, and then I wanted to do it again later at night, like I did the previous video that I recorded at 2 a.m. and it worked because it was so spontaneous and raw and just straight up emotional. We were talking about that last night and we came to a conclusion that I'm setting my expectations kind of way too high, because I expected to, in a matter of one day, you know, from not doing this very often, I put an expectation on myself to produce a high quality, entertaining, engaging video that I was imagining right in one sitting. But then that stressed me out to the point that blocked me completely and I didn't manage to do it. Setting the right goals for where you are right now, or breaking down your big chunky goal into smaller steps so that you can work on these things that are part of your goal step by step, rather than getting overwhelmed by the whole massive mountain that you need to scale. As many steps as there are in the process of recording a video, you know, preparing your notes or thinking about what you want to say, or recording in a moment when you have some realization and some holy shit moment like I'm doing right now. I realized that in the whole process of producing a video, the first obstacle I'm facing is pulling out the camera in the right moment and just recording and talking freely to the camera as if I was talking to a friend. Because what I notice happens, and what I keep doing all the time, is I have loads of cool realizations and holy shit moments and thoughts and things that I want to share. But then I think, oh, that's cool, I could talk about it in a video. But what I end up doing is I write these ideas down and think, oh, I'm gonna do it tomorrow. Oh, I'm gonna do it another time. Oh, I will do it when we are in this situation, or when I have done my makeup and then the setup is better, blah, blah, blah. Another day, so the light is better and other stuff like that. So again, millions and millions of excuses. And then I end up never recording it anyway. You know, when you have what I call holy shit moments, that's a very emotional moment in your mind where you have some kind of realization, some epiphany, and that's quite an emotional moment. From what I understand and how I see this, it doesn't happen when your mind is in a very logical state. For this reason, whenever these realizations happen, and then I write them down, planning to talk about them again when the moment and the circumstances are better, I never end up doing it after that moment that I've written these ideas down, because I just don't feel it anymore. It's not that the realization doesn't matter to me anymore, but my emotions have had the time to cool down, and now my mind is looking at these ideas that I wrote down about these certain realizations in a much more logical way, because that's what happens, right? You have this emotional wave and high of the moment of the realization. You're like, holy shit, that really makes sense. How could I not see it before? That makes so much sense, and maybe this is the key to making myself feel better, or other things. But then your emotions cool down and your logical mind kicks in, where you see it and you're like, yeah, I can describe it in one sentence, and that's it. Like, how can I make a video based off of just one sentence? Long story short, all of this to say that the conversation that we just had right now, talking about the first step to work on for me on the path to achieving my goals, which is making videos regularly, being comfortable with making videos regularly, sharing the value that I have to share, that I want to share with you and with the internet, to have it memorized as well for myself. The first step to that is pulling out the camera, showing myself that it's okay to talk to the camera even when I'm not ready, even when I'm in my pajama, in the third video in a row, in the same setup without makeup and whatever, because realistically, when these kind of holy moments happen and realizations happen, it usually comes at you when, you know, it's the middle of the night, or you're just chilling, pondering about life, or you know, moments like that. So yeah, so that's the first step. Whenever I'm gonna have some cool realizations, I'm gonna go on a personal challenge to start recording them, no matter the setup, no matter the circumstances and the state that I'm in, the fact that I'm wearing the same hoodie all the time, because these are really the moments when I love my mind the most. And that's something that I also realized last night, that I haven't recorded, but I still remember quite emotionally, so let me share that with you. What I realized that I would love to do more than anything is share that part of my mind that I really love about myself, the part of my mind that is very good at self-reflection, the part of my mind that is having the holy moments, and the part of my mind that is wise and bright and very observant, that can spot these little realizations here and there and connect the dots. I really love that part of my mind, and I love that I have this skill of self-realization developed to the level that it is. I feel like in the moments when I have these realizations, and when I really allow myself to express my thoughts in these holy moments, or just letting this emotional thought process flow without any restrictions of like I have to sound well for the camera, or I have to not stutter, or I have to pronounce everything perfectly or look perfectly, and you know, all that shit, the same stuff over and over again. When I allow myself to just be me and talk and let these thoughts and realizations flow, that's when I feel like I'm the most myself. That's when I feel like myself the most. When I allow myself to go through these realizations and let these thoughts and connections in my mind just flow out freely without any obstruction of the external filters and expectations. Realizing that this is the part of myself that I love the most, that I am not sharing and not recording even for my own sake to remember, is something that kind of slapped me in the face, and I'm reliving that now, so it's cool to talk about it again. I have a note in my phone where I write down my holy moments. I don't do it every single time, but when I do, I write them down in the same way that I could just pick up my phone or the camera or whatever else and just record my thought in the moment. I write them down there whenever something clicks in my mind or a new thought connection in my mind happens, but then I never come back to that list. Imagine, it's so different seeing yourself talk in a moment about the realization you're having compared to reading a dry ass unemotional note that you just made in your notebook or phone or whatever about that realization. I could summarize this situation saying,
be more spontaneous, talk about realizations in the moment, because that's when they're the strongest and the realest and the rawest.
But like, if I read it 1 month from now, I would be like, duh, yeah, that's kind of obvious, thanks. But it wouldn't hit the same as me hitting recording my thoughts in a moment, and then being able to relive it and re-watch it, seeing my excitement, seeing my emotions, and seeing my engagement in the topic, and seeing the real me come out and come through when I'm talking about these things that I'm passionate about. Okay, so this is my first official attempt to record my thoughts in a moment, because as a matter of fact, I do have these realizations very often, and I do reflect very often. I love self-reflection. I love being observant and like analyzing things that are happening around me and pulling lessons from, you know, from environment, from other people, from situations that happen to us. Really, even if I just did that, not even just for the sake of content, but for the sake of growth and me training myself to be okay with talking to the camera and sharing my thoughts in a more comfortable way, if that makes sense. So in a way that I'm not putting it off, or maybe that's the thing, training myself to act in a moment, act immediately, and don't put things off, because then I'm losing the moment, and then the moment passes and then never happens again. As much as we would think that, you know, I'll do it tomorrow is the solution, just do it right now. Maybe that's the solution. And maybe that's something that we can all do differently. If there's something that you can pull out from this video for yourself, maybe doing things immediately instead of putting them off. When we feel inspired and connected with ourselves, and when we feel that this deep chain of thought is pulling us in one direction or the other, maybe we should act right away, act on this inspiration, rather than put things away to another moment. Because maybe these are these magical moments that can help us change our reality and shift our perspective and really get closer to who we want to be, to what we want to do, and the life and the reality that we want to create for ourselves. Just a thought. I think I would really love to see if this experiment with recording my realizations right away would work, how I hope that it would work. So helping me express myself more freely and not be scared to talk in front of the camera. Because if you watched my last video, this is something that I wanted to do for years, that I have been postponing because of the circumstances and the environment being imperfect while I was hoping to do it. So always postponing it because of excuses, because of perfectionism and all the other things. The reason why I'm saying this is because I noticed recently, like yesterday, when I failed to record that video, the lingering feeling that I had over the past few times when I tried to record a video is that I'm focusing too much on kind of putting a show on for the camera, which sounds stupid and weird, but really it's very difficult, for me at least, to open myself up and be honest and let my thoughts free flow to the camera, because I keep focusing on trying to make things sound perfect. So that feeling is something that slows me down, because I'm focusing on trying to build perfect sentences and thinking of the next sentences to say, but that really blocks me and puts me in a very logical state of mind of remembering my script. What I want to get better at is kind of improvising / sharing my thoughts honestly on the camera, because I often feel as if I was putting on a show, which is not something that I want to do because it doesn't feel real and authentic. One last thing that came up yesterday that I thought was a very profound realization, let's say, is when I failed to make that video yesterday and I was feeling a bit upset and kind of disappointed with myself, and I was feeling down that it didn't work despite my preparations and everything else. I said to Ale that I feel kind of stuck because I would love to figure out how to share this part of myself that I love, which is this self-reflecting, deep mind thinking, realization focused part of my mind. I feel stuck trying to figure out how to share it honestly and vulnerably, because this is where I feel the most myself, and I find it hard to let that part of me come through on the camera or even to other people. Like, aside from my partner, I find it very hard to open myself up to this level to anyone else, let alone the camera. But then he said something very interesting. He pinpointed how I was feeling so beat up and I was really hard on myself yesterday for making a mistake, right? For kind of failing to getting that video done yesterday. I was feeling upset myself for that fail. But then he said that you can't really reflect or grow, and you would have nothing to reflect on if you never made any mistakes or never faced any challenges. And that's so true. So allow yourself to be shitty, allow yourself to fuck up, allow yourself to make mistakes, because otherwise you will have nothing to reflect on, and otherwise you will not grow as a person if you try to always get everything done perfectly. Because if you get everything done perfectly, means that you already know how to do it, means there's nothing to grow from, there's nothing to learn from in that kind of circumstance. So since I want to grow beyond who I am right now, and I want to share that part of myself that is so focused on self-reflection and real, raw, live observations, it's only fair and it only makes sense that I make as many mistakes as possible, and I up as much as possible and allow myself to make as many mistakes as possible, so then I have something to reflect on. And honestly, this video that you are watching right now is kind of a result of us talking about what is this one thing that is stopping me from doing what I want to do, and what can I do to overcome that. Conclusion was, start recording thoughts in a moment. I was so scared, and honestly he kind of forced me to start recording and just get it over with, and I was very, very nervous to just even start talking to the camera, and I had no idea what to say. But now, 24 minutes of recording later, I honestly feel much better, and I feel excited, and I feel in my zone, in my element. And despite the shitty environment, again, as in shitty circumstances, how do you say, like, shitty quality of the video, and like imperfect setup, imperfect frame, my pajama again, I feel excited that I did it. I feel excited that I conquered that fear, and I feel excited that I took this step to record, to chat. That's it.